I've never understood the argument that a human is not a human when it's in the womb.
Well, I mean, you were just the one that repeated it, wasn't it? You just affirmed that you don't think it's its own individual human.
I think when it's a part of the mother, they're two in one. I do.
Okay, so it's a part of the mother. Why should the mother not be able to do what she wants with her own body?
Because it's another heartbeat that she created.
Wait, but it's her own heartbeat.
It has what am I trying to say?
Why can't she consent to abortion when she's consenting to something that has to do with her own body?
Because when you have sex, you know that there is a risk of getting pregnant, and that's the risk you're taking. I'm sorry, but it's true.
So if you take the risk, you run the gamble, and you get unlucky and you get pregnant, you should have to accept that pregnancy and deal with it because you took the risk to begin with?
Yes. Okay. It's your fault.
So if I smoke cigarettes, taking the risk of lung cancer, and I do get lung cancer, I should have to deal with that lung cancer and suck it up? I shouldn't be able to go to the doctor's office and get chemotherapy to kill it? Welcome in, Adam. Do you support Trump?
I do.
How old are you?
I'm 21 years old.
And why do you support who I would consider the worst president of your life?
Well, I have a question for you. Why do you think he's the worst president of my life?
Because I think that his policy is baloney, but obviously we've seen a lot of presidents with baloney policy. I think what makes him special is human rights violations, like the 66 million American women and girls that have lost access to elective lethal abortions because of him, or the 60 pregnant rape victims that are denied access to abortion every day like clockwork as a result of him overturning Roe v. Wade, or him playing judge, jury, and executioner as it relates to basically sentencing Abrego Garcia to be beaten, tortured, and CCOT for 3 weeks. Then even after SCOTUS ruled that his removus was illegal, Trump administration said, we don't care, he's never coming back, even though he's being beaten, tortured illegally there. And then maybe propping up things like Alligator Alcatraz, where, these detainees, these undocumented immigrants, literally are undergoing worse treatment than inmates in maximum security facilities, getting one meal a day, living in tight quarters with lights on 24/7, not having access to water to bathe in 4 days, and some of the meals are having maggots in them. It was built in 8 days to withstand a Category 2 hurricane, even though we've had 3 Category 3 or above hurricanes strike that area of Florida in the last 5 years. And then also the fact that he called for the termination of the Constitution, supports no core American values, and tried to rig and steal a federal election in 2020. That's what solidifies him as the worst president of either of our lifetimes.
So it's funny to me that you bring up the detention camps when Obama deported, I think, roughly 3 million more immigrants than Trump did in his first term, yet that's never brought up.
Wait, does this mean that Donald Trump deported 0 undocumented immigrants in his first term? Because Obama deported exactly 3 million undocumented immigrants.
Okay, apologies. 2 million more than Trump.
So, okay.
Trump did,
so he deported 2 million more in 8 years than he did in 4. Yeah. Notice how, like, a point that I didn't bring up there was his number of deportations. This is a red herring to the argument I specifically gave you. But if you want to talk about Obama, I'll give you my thoughts. Okay. Donald Trump is focusing on the deportation of all undocumented immigrants, and he's been violating their constitutional rights and sentencing them to be beat and tortured. Obama didn't violate their constitutional rights, didn't sentence them to be beat and tortured, and specifically focused on deporting undocumented immigrants with prior criminal offenses outside of unlawful entry. My evidence for this would be the fact that it's not just something that he said, but it's something that he acted on by instituting work programs for nonviolent undocumented immigrants such as DACA.
Illegal immigrants? Does the Constitution apply to illegal immigrants?
Yeah, that is a good point. Does the Constitution apply to illegals who came here legally?
It does. Do you think it doesn't?
No, I mean, it was a genuine question. I don't think it does or doesn't.
It does. It applies to all people in the country.
But if they're here illegally, I feel like it's
to me, I've always viewed it as it applies to citizens. I'm not saying you're right or wrong.
Okay, could I give you a glaring issue with that view of yours?
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that you're pro-life and you think that abortion should be banned, right?
Yes, I think the only case that abortion shouldn't be banned is in rape and incest.
Well, those two views contradict one another, because if your belief is that only citizens have constitutional protections, well, what is something that you have to have in order to be a citizen? A social security number, right?
Yeah.
And when do we get our social security numbers? At conception or birth?
Excuse me.
When do we get it at birth? So this means before birth, we're not citizens because we don't have SSNs. Okay. Well, the issue here is then fetuses don't have any constitutional or legal protections, meaning that you would be pro-choice all 9 months for any means whatsoever in all 50 states.
I'm pro-choice, yes.
You just told us that you were pro-life.
No, I did not. Dude. How did I in what way did I tell you I'm pro-life?
We're gonna roll back the clip. Jesus, just give us a minute. I'm about to clip your ass, but it's just lagging bad. It's
I am
MAGA, it's so bad.
You're right. I'm sorry. I heard you wrong. Yes, I am pro-life. I do believe that in cases of rape and incest, that there should be an option. But I think that's also a very small percentage.
Oh, great. Yeah, so then what I said was true because you said that constitutional protection should only apply to citizens, meaning that they wouldn't apply to fetuses since fetuses don't have an SS and thereby aren't citizens, meaning that they don't have constitutional protections, meaning they don't have any legal protections, meaning that you'd have to say that you'd be pro-choice all 9 months for any reason or no reason at all in all 50 states, given that you think the Constitution only applies to citizens.
I think that,
Boom.
boom, what?
Boom, your argument is defeated. Either you're pro-choice all 9 months in all 50 states, or you think that the Constitution applies to everything, buddy person in this country, not just citizens.
How does being pro-choice and a citizen having rights in the Constitution have anything to do with each other?
Because under your view that the citizen only applies, that the Constitution only applies to citizens, the Constitution would not apply to fetuses. And if the Constitution doesn't apply to fetuses, then fetuses have no legal protections. So there'd be no legal protections to stop a mother from killing it, meaning that you'd be pro-choice amendments in all 50 states.
I do see your point of view. I don't necessarily agree, but I get what you're trying to say.
So what's the problem with the argument here?
Because I think it's apples and oranges. I don't think
Dude,
I don't think
the fetuses want to be citizens, and you think that the Constitution only protects citizens, right?
Well, I actually asked you if the Constitution does protect citizens or everybody.
And I said it protects everybody, and then you responded by saying, well, I don't know, I think it only protects citizens. So I just gave you one really glaring reason why you shouldn't believe that, especially if you're pro-life.
I'm not saying you're wrong or right.
You should probably say I'm right.
No, I think I should probably have my own opinion.
Well, what's wrong with my opinion? Can you critique it?
Well, I think the problem is I bring up an argument and then you try to bring up something else. You try to confuse me and get me knocked off my words. When in reality, I was talking about illegals and you're talking about abortion.
You think that undocumented immigrants don't have legal protections because they're not citizens, right?
No, because they're here legally.
Okay, so you don't have constitutional protections if you break a law.
No, they're not citizens.
So you think that they don't have constitutional protections because they're not citizens, are fetus citizens.
Well, they're going to be, I would say they are. They're a part of their mother.
Oh, well, if a fetus is a part of their mother, why would the mother not be able to do whatever she wants with her own body?
Because it's going to become its own life.
It's going to be something else in the future?
I've never understood the argument that a human is not a human when it's in the womb.
Well, I mean, you were just the one that repeated it. Wasn't you just affirmed that you don't think it's its own individual human.
I think at the time when it's a part of the mother, they're two in one. I do.
Okay, so it's a part of the mother. Why should the mother not be able to do what she wants with her own body?
Because it's another heartbeat that she created.
Wait, but it's her own heartbeat.
What am I trying to say?
It's her own heartbeat. Why can't she consent to a practice? Why can't she consent to abortion when she's consenting to something that has to do with her own body?
Because when you have sex, you know that there is a risk of getting pregnant, and that's the risk you're taking. I'm sorry, but it's true.
So if you take the risk, you run the gamble, and you get unlucky and you get pregnant, you should have to accept that pregnancy and deal with it because you took the risk to begin with?
Yes. Okay. It's your fault.
So if I smoke cigarettes, taking the risk of lung cancer, and I do get lung cancer, I should have to deal with that lung cancer and suck it up? I shouldn't be able to go to the doctor's office and get chemotherapy to kill it?
That's not remotely the same thing, and it's still your fault.
Actually, under your view, that would be the identical thing. Those lung cancer cells would be a part of my body, just like you said that a fetus is a part of the woman's body. They're one and the same. Both scenarios.
So you're under the view that a fetus is a parasite or a disease.
Whoa, that's not the view I take. I don't know why you'd assume that of me. I'm talking about your view.
That's what you just said.
No, this is an internal critique that I'm running of your view. You're the one that has been repeating that you think that a fetus is literally a part of the mother's body. That's been what you've been repeating.
So, sorry, stumbled over my words. I'm going to ask you again. So, do you think cancer and a baby are pretty much the same thing, or a fetus are the same thing?
Under your view, absolutely.
Under my view, okay.
Yeah, because they're just both a part of the woman's body.
Well, cancer is not going to eventually become a human.
Oh, it's going to eventually become a human in the future. Sperm and an egg are eventually going to become a human in the future. Is it murder to kill sperms and eggs?
Yes, it's murder to kill a fetus, to abort a fetus.
I didn't ask you if it's murder to abort a fetus. I asked you if it's murder to kill sperms and eggs because they might be a human in the future.
What's the difference?
So you don't think there is one. So therefore, you do think it's murder to kill sperms and eggs?
Do I think it's murder to kill sperms and eggs?
Because they might be a human in the future?
I think if it develops into a fetus, yeah, I think that's murder.
So then ejaculation is genocide. Got it, buddy.
Mm-hmm. You're really good at twisting words and trying to make something into your own.
It's my expertise.
Well, I'm not going to blame you for having your own opinions, but at the same time, I think you can't get mad at somebody else. I'm not saying you're mad. but I can't.
I'm not mad. I'm just telling you.
No, I'm not
you're
saying you're wrong. I don't think you should call somebody wrong for having a different opinion than you, especially when the topic has to do with murdering a baby.
Okay, well, let's look at what you just said. I don't think you're wrong. You shouldn't be able to tell people that they're wrong just because they have a different opinion than you. Therefore, you shouldn't be able to tell any woman that wants to get an abortion and doesn't think that an abortion is wrong, that they're wrong, meaning you shouldn't restrict upon their legal access in accordance with their own opinion, pro-choice king.
But I don't think it's an opinion when it comes to the fact that you're taking away another life.
Okay, then I didn't tell you that your opinion was wrong. I told you something that's not an opinion that you find to be the case is wrong, because we're talking about abortion. And you just said that for whatever reason, it's not an opinion.
No, I don't think it is an opinion.
Oh, okay. So because it's not an opinion, I can tell you that it's wrong.
I mean, you could tell me whatever you want. Listen, I think the problem, what it comes down to is you, like I said, you're having sex, you take the risk of potentially getting pregnant. The same way, if you're smoking, you take the risk of getting lung cancer.
Right.
If it happens, it happens. That's on you.
Right. Okay, so you agree that there's two situations. They're somewhat analogous in the relevant senses. So if you should have to accept the natural consequences of sex, you should also have to accept the natural consequences of smoking and deal with a lung cancer and not kill it, just like you're saying women have to deal with a pregnancy and not kill the fetus, right?
Right. I also think if you are truly in the case where you cannot protect a child, one, you shouldn't have created a child in the first place, but also you could put it up for adoption.
Adoption is not an alternative to pregnancy. Adoption is an alternative to pregnancy. When can you put your child up for adoption?
I understand what you're saying now. Go on. I didn't mean to cut you off. Continue.
Adoption is not an alternative to pregnancy. Adoption is an alternative to raising a child. In fact, the only alternative to pregnancy before viability is literally lethal abortion.
So you think it would be better to end a life than to give it to a different family? Now, do I think putting a child in foster care is...
I think it's better to recognize that there's no morally relevantly valuable traits of a fetus, meaning that it's not wrong if you end that life in accordance with the desires of the woman due to the bodily autonomy rights violation, and thereby if a woman chooses that she wants to get an abortion, that action is morally permissible, and forcing her to maintain that pregnancy to be an incubator for a family that wants a kid is incredibly immoral and dystopian.
I'm under the view that I think it is better to... I don't think either are good options. I think I've made myself clear. But I personally think it is better to put a child up for adoption than to just completely end its chance of having a life at all.
So you want to reshift the family dynamic away from financially well-off adults that consent to starting a family and desire to have kids into forcing 18, 19, and 20-year-old men and women, boys and girls, into becoming parents because you think that their state legislator should have a right to compel the woman to be an incubator for a kid for another family against their will, which does lead to lower levels of happiness, higher levels of poverty, lower levels of education, and lower levels of employment and income in areas with pro-life legislation. I don't know, man. Every time I walk into Walmart or Target, during the holiday season, I always see one of those little trees with the names of kids in the foster care system asking me to buy them a gift. If their quality of life was so good, I don't know that those little trees would exist. And I mean, we could explain that because sure, there's like a couple million families that want and desire to adopt a kid. You know, babies are real popular and in demand, but the older they get, they become a teenager, the less wanted they are and the lower quality of life they experience. But once again, like the totality of my argument literally hinges on the idea there's just nothing about a fetus that is morally valuable. Thereby, I don't think when a mother decides to kill that fetus, she is doing anything wrong. Okay? I don't care if that fetus would grow up to be a millionaire with a lavish lifestyle or living on the streets, regardless of the outcome of the life of that kid. Still yet before that child has the ability to deploy any level of sentience, I don't think it's valuable. Thereby, I don't think that the mother is doing anything wrong by killing it.
So when do you think life starts? At birth?
I think that life begins at the moment of conception. I think that valuable life begins at 20 weeks.
So can you explain to me, in your opinion, the difference between life and valuable life?
For sure. I'll give you an example. Dead people and alive people. Okay, well, I guess that's not a good example. That's a really bad example. You're not a vegan, right? Yeah, humans and cows. Valuable life, not valuable life. All right? So the reason why I would say that it is merely life and not valuable life at the moment of conception is because it doesn't exhibit any characteristics in which I would find to be morally valuable. I don't think that human life on its own, the structure of our DNA, is morally valuable at all. If it was, well, then we would say it's murder to pull the plug on brain dead patients because they are human and alive. So it's obviously not that trait that gives us our moral value. So what is it? I think it's going to be our experiences, our ability to interact with the world around us, our ability to think logically, to critically think, self-observe, etc. So when I'm trying to determine what my cutoff point should be for elective lethal abortions, the first thing I'm going to be looking for is when does the fetus gain the ability to deploy some low levels of sentience, or in other words, to possess subjective experiences, and that happens at around 20 weeks. So I believe that is a point in which that life becomes morally valuable. Okay, and before then, I don't think it's morally valuable. I don't think that it has the right to life. Thereby, I think that a woman is well within her rights to get an abortion for literally any reason, whenever, for whatever, for any reason.
Whenever before 20 weeks?
Elective
In your
lethal
opinion?
abortions, yeah.
Okay. And then you think after 20 weeks would be for medical reasons?
Yeah,
I'm just trying to...
yeah, for medical reasons. And at that point, I still think that it should be in between the woman and her doctor, because I think when we give the state the ability to legislate, they do so very poor. And it leads to doctors being literally scared to perform medical procedures to save the life of the mother because of the legislation at the state. But I do think that we should have some like legislation that would compel the only abortions that should maintain legality to either be in situations of rape or to save the life of the mother. But it should ultimately be up to the determination of the doctor at the risk of the doctor's license to make that decision with an unbiased review board if necessary. But ultimately, I say it should stop at the doctor.
Okay, so let's say, just for example, I'm trying to get your stance on this. So let's say at 20, we'll say 25 weeks, just to keep it kind of close. If you think a mother is having regret, then they don't have the right to abort?
At that point, they could do an abortion that doesn't kill the fetus, C-section or induction of labor. Yeah, the fetus is viable at 25 weeks. They could literally give birth.
I mean, yeah, they could at high risk, but I was trying to get your stance on. Before this, I didn't know if your cutoff was 30 weeks, 35, whatever it may be.
Birth. Sorry, guys. Birth. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else you want to go over?
No, I don't think so.
Cool. Appreciate you, man. Have a good rest of your day.